All right, I think we're live.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. I'll get us started. Um, Welcome, everybody, to the Facebook Live on Friday on Build Up Dietitians. Just closing out of a few announcements here. We are Heidi and Lyndel from Dietitians On Demand. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Heidi Williams. I'm the Director of Marketing at Dietitians On Demand. I have been here for, 7 years. I started as a recruiter back when there were about half as many people in the company as there are now. So it was a little bit different back then than it is now. Things have grown and changed, and with that, my position grew and changed from working in recruiting to now working in marketing. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, the most of us here probably have started in recruiting, and now that being said, I started in recruiting here as well, and I am still in recruiting. I am Lyndel Schuster, the Director of Account Management here at Dietitians On Demand. I'm also a registered dietitian for almost 20 years now. I've been with Dietitians On Demand for the past 3.5 years. And pretty much the whole time I've been working as a dietitian recruiter and or regional account manager, and working with clients and dietitians all across the nation.
Yeah. So you've been here at our corporate office for 3 years, but you were with Dietitians On Demand before that, right?
I was actually back in 2008 or 2009. I think maybe Dietitians On Demand had been around for maybe 3 or 4 years at that time, and I lived and was working in Richmond, and knew Alicia, the founder of Dietitians On Demand, from one of my clinical roles at a hospital. And so I checked into Dietitians On Demand for some side hustles that I was looking for at the time. And so I worked as a consultant back then.
Okay, yeah, that's great. That's so I don't know if we actually introduced what Dietitians On Demand is for those who aren't familiar, but Dietitians On Demand has been around for 16 years, and we're a staffing company for dietitians. So we started locally here in Richmond, I think in about 2005. And I think around 2008 or 9 is when we kind of started to expand to nationwide. So we place dietitians in contract roles all over the country, and I would say the majority of our roles are clinical positions. So hospitals, long-term care sites that are required to have a dietitian on site will come to us if they have a vacancy or maternity leave or something like that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later too, kind of the trends that we're seeing in the staffing industry and in the career track for dietitians. So we're kind of we help dietitians get jobs in clinical settings, and we some of them are contracts, some of them are permanent. We just kind of fill whatever our clients come to and ask us for help with. We help find dietitians for those roles.
Yeah, definitely. We have requests from everything from corporate wellness to I'm starting up my own private practice and I would like to have some private practice dietitians, to, as Heidi mentioned, a majority of the positions being in the clinical world because of the requirements to have the dietitian coverage in those types of settings. So, but that being said, I know we've talked about how we are in Richmond, Virginia, but we staff nationwide. So where is everyone coming from or tuning in today from? So just curious as far as where you're located right now as you're watching.
Yeah, we love to kind of see where everybody is tuning in from. We do a lot of live webinars as well, and so I'm kind of used to that, like the call-in setting. Yeah, yeah. We have one question here. I don't know for sure, Lyndel, if you can answer it, but it's Michelle. She said she's in Illinois. She's newer to the RD field and is curious how or if dietitians can do consults nationally. So that's definitely a question we get a lot.
That's a great question. I actually was just talking to someone about that yesterday. I was on a phone screen, and we somehow got into the conversation of how you need a licensure in the state where the patient or resident is sitting or residing, if it's going to be covered through insurance, or under like the hospital umbrella, anything like that. But whereas if you are a private pay, private practice dietitian, and you want to practice nationally, you do not have to have the licensure in each state where the patient is sitting. So as far as I know, that's how it works. To Michelle's question, she asked, how do you do remote consulting nationwide? That's what we're seeing as far as that goes. I know the laws are changing daily though on all that.
Yeah,
So,
yes, like
yeah.
anything, it's always
Mhm.
changing, especially in these unprecedented times. Well, so speaking of remote, like I mentioned, we're a staffing company. We have a job board that is updated daily. I think the last couple days we have crossed a lot of records in our company as far as open jobs, and we get a lot of requests for remote work. So do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you're seeing
Mhm.
related to remote work versus clinical jobs and
Yeah, definitely. This is a huge topic. It's been a very big topic for the last 2 years. When prior to the pandemic, we did get requests for remote coverage occasionally. It wasn't too often, but as COVID hit and dietitians were sent home to do their work, I think a lot of other clients and companies started reaching out and saying, that they would be open to remote coverage. And then um, I think then we came back to let's be on site. And so we get a lot of requests for on site coverage. Um, and so now we're seeing the dietitians really want more remote work, and they want more hybrid and flexibility in their schedules. I would say that's been a huge trend, or a piece of a difference in our career in the past, especially in 2021. So from time to time, we get requests for on-site coverage with the allowance to chart remotely or call in to rounds, or to chat with patients or meetings, and then be on site for those duties that a clinical dietitian needs to be on site for. So we are definitely seeing more of it, um, particularly in areas where there aren't a lot of dietitians available to go on site, and they really need the coverage in order to provide care to the patients. So
yeah.
yeah, but if it's remote, it'll say, usually in the job description, the job posting will say remote or a hybrid, which would be meaning like
Right.
some of it can be done remotely, but most of the time they want on-site work as well.
Yeah, yep. And just like a little pro tip, if you're ever on our job board and you're searching for a remote position, there's a field up there for keyword. And so remote is a keyword that you can search for. Another one that people search for is travel. I was going to get into that too, because you said, some kind of like locations where there's maybe not a lot of dietitians. One of the other things that we offer is traveling dietitian jobs. Have you seen an increase in travel dietitians?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That has been huge. Probably second to remote is our travel opportunities. And again, because the need for dietitians has grown, and we have a lot more jobs in general, a lot of those we are trying to fill with travel dietitians. And we've seen a lot more dietitians jumping on board with traveling with us, and well, traveling in general. They're traveling with any kind of opportunity that they can kind of get. And a lot of times it's because we hear they really want a lot of experience in the shortest amount of time. So you can bounce from an acute care 3-month rotation to another acute care rotation, then maybe you're ready for a long-term care rotation. So you can really get out there and get that kind of experience all in 1 to 2 years versus, a permanent position where you're, feeling like you need to stay for a year
Yeah,
or two, and
yeah,
then
locked
maybe
into
move
that,
on.
yeah.
So yeah.
I've read that a lot in our like testimonials and our
Mhm.
feedback from people who work for us, that whether you're traveling or not, even if you want to stay local, working as a consultant gives you that opportunity to meet all kinds of different people, work in all kinds of different settings, and just really rack up the experience.
Mhm.
One of our subject matter experts always says that she has traveled to all these different sites working for us, and she says that she's cherry picked the best practices from all these different facilities and combines them and to use in her practice. So
Mhm.
it really can level you up as a clinician, seeing all these different places and how things work in different parts of the country or different settings.
Mhm. Yes, I hear that all the time. Folks are like, "Oh, I've really want to see how people do things in that area of the country, or how patients have different needs in certain areas, and just to get that kind of varied background with patient care as well,
Yeah.
protocols, you name it. So yeah, that's kind of fun. If your current facility doesn't place feeding tubes at the bedside, and then the next one does, I mean, you're just kind of getting all that in such a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, I'm sure it can be stressful, but in a good way. It's like, all right, I've got to figure this out, and I'm the only one here.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like we have a few more questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have a couple questions, and please, you guys feel free to ask us anything. We'll keep talking, but we're also here to answer any questions that you have about Dietitians on Demand, or just the job market in general right now. So we have one here that says, it seems like there are so many open positions right now. Are we seeing this as well? And are people migrating across fields, i.e. moving from clinical to non-clinical roles, or moving to different fields of clinical? Just talk a little bit maybe about the types of jobs that we've got on our board.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that too. And then maybe Heidi, you can share, like you were just sharing with me earlier, some really cool data that you had pulled. But yes, are we seeing this? Absolutely. We have had a tremendous increase in the number of open jobs coming in. I think, what were you saying, an increase?
Yeah, I looked in the last 6 months, we've had a 12% increase in the coverage type for vacancies. So we cover, we kind of code the different coverage types that come in, and we've seen a big increase in the request for vacancies and a decrease in the number of vacation coverages. So to me, that signals that a lot of dietitians are leaving their roles and looking for something different, and that brings clients to us looking for longer coverage instead of just a week or two for a vacation. They need somebody kind of indefinitely until they're able to hire.
Absolutely. And yes, so that's telling us, one, that dietitians are moving and transitioning to that question you had regarding where are they moving to and what are they doing. Well, that's interesting, and I don't think that I can really say that they're all going from clinical to clinical or clinical to non-clinical roles. I think I'm just seeing more of just shifting in general, like to maybe some private practice half time, and then they want to do consulting half time, and some want to do more remote positions part-time, and then on-site some part-time. But I wouldn't say that I'm seeing them move into non-clinical roles. However, I've read articles where a lot of healthcare clinicians right now are, they're burnt out, they're moving to non-clinical roles. But I guess I haven't really seen that firsthand in dietitians. So
Yeah.
And I would say dietitians are out there working. I think that's just how dietitians are. We're going to be out there. We're going to be working and learning and all of the good stuff. So
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Another question here from Noreen. She said, would the pay be higher if the location wants an in-person RD coverage, like for example, hazard pay, being on site versus being remote?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes, if it's an immediate request and maybe it's for holiday coverage, and in the past we've maybe seen a higher rate of pay, and I think maybe in the earlier days we saw more hazard pay, but now it seems that the rates are about the same for remote and on-site. And I think that just in speaking with dietitians who've managed remote employees and or have been remote employees, the work is essentially it's not all the same because it's really not, but you're still doing the meat of what dietitians do is assessing the patient and making the appropriate treatment recommendations. So again, but most of ours at least require some on-site. So I would say that's why the rates probably have remained the same for us. So,
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Definitely thought-provoking, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see, we got another one here from Andrew. He said, are there certain fields of dietetics that have been difficult for organizations to fill? So, I mean, I think the majority of our positions are like long-term care and acute care, but then you can talk about, is it more difficult to fill in different settings?
That's a great question, and I think it really varies depending on the location of the position.
Okay, that makes sense.
It really does. Like a PACE job, is somewhere, and I don't even know where, but might be really easy to fill. But I know sometimes I have a trouble in certain areas filling those positions, and filling long-term care at first was a little bit difficult at first during the pandemic. But now I think really it's kind of across the board the same.
Equally challenging or easy.
And it's just it's so many different factors. So,
yeah. I was gonna just kind of add to that. We regarding long-term care and acute care, we I don't know if it's easier for us to fill jobs, but we do offer some on-the-job training for dietitians that work for us. So we have this long-term care toolkit and an acute care toolkit that we kind of designed with our dietitians in mind. We have people who come and want to work for us, and they're like, oh, well, most of my experience is in long-term care, but I'm local to this acute care position, would you consider me for it? And a lot of times we're able to use those trainings to get people up to speed so that we feel comfortable placing them at a site that they may have a little bit less experience in, but we've given them tools to be successful in that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's part of, some of the perks as consulting as a career. Like you're getting all these different experiences, but the first part is to get the first experience, right? And so we have everything from a new grad looking for their first assignment to maybe a career long dietitian who's always done long-term care and wants to get into acute care, and vice versa. So I think that having those types of resources available for our folks has really taken off probably in the past, maybe 2 years, as you guys, I mean, I know you all have been, and I say you, it's like the marketing and content creation department here at Dietitians On Demand, really having come from, when I started, you had blogs, and you were starting on some live webinars, and now it seems like we have a library of toolkits and self-study materials and infographics and now training programs.
So I mentioned those two training programs, the long-term care and acute care. Those are really just straight training programs. They're not for CEU credit, but most of what we offer is, and we just launched this nutrition support training that is a 15 CE program, and that includes everything you would ever need to know about nutrition support. So if you've been out of that for a little while or feeling a little rusty, that's something that we offer as well, especially for people like if you're going into critical care or it's just something that you're not super familiar with, your facility just started accepting more nutrition support patients or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's the same for dietitians who've maybe taken a gap in their in their career, maybe it's been 5 or 6 years since they've been in acute care, and they want to brush up on those skills.
Yeah, we hear that a lot about just dietetics being so female heavy. People take a couple of years break from the field and want to come back, and a lot of times they'll come back to us, looking for a flexible contract type gig. So it's nice to have those tools.
Yeah, definitely. Do y'all have any other big plans on tap for 2022?
Yeah, so I mentioned that in the teaser the other day. For 2022, we've got so I mentioned that training, that nutrition support training, and I just mentioned it because it's been so popular. We just launched it in December, and we sell at least a couple every day. We sold a ton in the beginning, over 100, probably over 200 at this point. So that's nutrition support. And then coming up later this year, we had a request for long-term care. So we're going to be releasing a large training on long-term care, and then we also are going to be doing one on malnutrition. I know that's a hot topic, and we have a lot of smaller malnutrition training and webinars and courses, and talking about the reimbursement involved, and we PDPM if you're in long-term care and how that's impacted by malnutrition. So this large training program is just going to combine everything and anything you'd ever need to know as a dietitian about malnutrition.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean it's never ending as far as what we can put out there, but also because dietitians love learning and they love development. And so if any of our viewers or listeners out there right now, if there are any topics or trainings you're particularly interested in and you want to see more of, feel free to put those in the comment sections as well.
Yes, we are always we're just here for dietitians. That is our entire brand, is we love our dietitians and we want to support them. So anything you need, any ideas, anything we can do to help support your job, your career, anything you need for your job, just feel free to comment and let us know. I did want to get back to this question. We have a couple more coming in. It says, coming back to the travel RDs, can you explain a little bit about that? Is there a housing allowance? How about health insurance? How does it work? We get that question a lot for a traveling dietitian.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, there is a housing allowance. Probably 95% of our travel assignments afford the dietitian the control, so to speak, of where they lock in their housing.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, very rarely do we have cases where the client books the lodging and says this is where you're staying, right? So most of the time you can look on furnishedfinder.com, Airbnb, extended stays, you name it, and it really varies. Some dietitians love the comfort of a hotel because they know there's a complimentary breakfast in the morning and business office and laundry services, safety, and others really want to have more of the privacy and more of the control, of their home, so to speak. And a lot of our dietitians travel with their pets and their little fur babies, so they're always wanting to look for that as well. So yeah, if you are, as Heidi mentioned earlier, looking for travel opportunities, our job postings will say travel offered. And what we mean by that is there is a per diem offered, and you obviously, most of our dietitians do spend that on their housing.
Yeah. So that is, the per diem is a lump sum basically on top of your hourly pay rate. That is, the per diem is not taxed, and it is to be used. You can use it on any of your travel expenses, and like you said, most of that usually goes to your lodging, but it can cover mileage or airfare or meals or any other expenses related to your travel assignment.
Absolutely. And then I love it. Someone asked about health insurance for our travel RDs. And actually, that is brand new for 2022. Actually, not just our travel dietitians, but any dietitian on assignment with us who is going to be working a full-time assignment is now eligible for health benefits. So health, medical, dental, vision.
We have sick pay, 401k, in addition to other kind of little perks like free CEUs. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, the health insurance is huge, and that is a new benefit that we're offering for 2022, and we're really excited about it. It's, one of those things, anything we can do to support dietitians' careers, we, if you want to work contract, or if you want to consider consulting as your career path, now being able to have benefits with that just makes it that much easier to live that flexible consulting lifestyle, but also with the support of, if you had a permanent job, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way to put it. So yeah, great questions.
Yeah. And then Noreen here asked, she said, what is your typical pay range? So Lyndel, I'll let you talk about that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So typical pay range really can vary. It's going to vary depending on the location of the job in the country. It's going to vary on the setting, the client, and the experience level of the dietitian. So, the range is very wide, as you can imagine, based on where you're located and your experience level. So in general, you're probably going to see, and this is again a wide range, but anywhere from 25 an hour to 50 an hour.
That's what I was going to say too.
It is a very wide range, but again, we do everything pretty fairly based on Bureau of Labor Statistics and the hourly wages in that area of the country, and again, settings and clients, and all of those.
Think about like
variables.
Duration too. Like if you're covering for 2 days over the Christmas holiday, the pay rate for that is going to be different than if you're able to cover for 2 months, over a summer vacation or something. So there's lots of different variables that play into those hourly pay rates.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we've mentioned it a time or two or three. We're dietitian founded. We're dietitian focused. Dietitians work here. We do want what's best for the dietitians as well. But we also have to be fair to our clients as well. So I think that anyone could probably see that our rates are fair and just across the board. And so we, like I said, varying ranges. But Noreen, what typically happens is once you apply for a position, if you're a good fit for that job and you get on a call with your account manager that covers that territory, that's when you can kind of get into more of a more detailed discussion about the pay. So.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. We have a good question here from Rachel. I feel like this is one that we get a lot. So she asked, do you see new graduates have a lot of success at landing jobs through Dietitians On Demand? She knows it's harder to find jobs that don't require a year or two of experience, but like you said, you got to get that experience to get the job. But how do you? It's like the chicken or the egg.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I think that I think it is a great question, and it really depends on the client. And we try, I know, to explain the nature of the environment right now, and the fact that new grads can vary, obviously, in their experience with what internship what their internship focused on. And so if it is a clinical job and they're open to new grads, we love that. We love giving new grads opportunities. So we do a thorough screening and then a skills competency assessment. And like Heidi said, we offer resources to those, maybe the areas that need a little bit of strengthening. And then we are pretty transparent with the client as far as like, this is a new grad and this is what the areas that maybe need a little help. And usually they do. They say, well, that's okay. We can train to that as well.
Yep.
So I think that it boils down to communication with the dietitian, and the dietitian we're interviewing being upfront with us, and then us being upfront with the client, and it all kind of comes together. But we definitely love to give opportunities to new grads.
Yes, I was going to say, I'm thinking of like a particular story from my recruiting days where I hired a new grad to work at a long-term care facility, and it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve for her, but she didn't give up. Ended up the client loved her. She loved it. She got offered a permanent job there, and she was their full-time dietitian. So, it can really work out really well for new grads, because yes, it's a learning curve, but it's also a blank slate.
Mhm.
So that facility can train that dietitian however they want, and then like happened for that girl, it could turn into a permanent position for her, if that's what you're looking for. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that we've even seen a dietitian maybe newer, maybe 1 year of acute care, wanting to go into a long-term care setting, and I've had clients, say, well, let's give them a shot, and then they're like, wow, this, they're a rock star. So we definitely have times when it just really works, and it's great to see that. So
yeah.
But that's a great question.
Yeah. Well, I think our 30 minutes is
Okay,
up.
wow,
So
really fast.
yeah, it was really fast. I was like, I don't know if we have enough to talk about for 30 minutes, but here we are. Well, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us. If you have any questions or any follow-up information that you would like from us, you're welcome to email us. It's info@dietitiansondemand.com. Looks like they just put that in the comments. So feel free to email, and we'll follow up. Feel free to check out our job board, and some of those training resources we had mentioned are available online at our shop. And I did want to just give a little plug for a discount code. So if you would like to get $10 off at our virtual shop, the code there is Warm Thoughts. WARMTHOUGHTS. So enter that at checkout, and you'll get $10 off of any of our continuing education resources at our store. Thanks for tuning in. Holler at us with questions.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good rest of your day and a good weekend.